So once we then articulate the people, processes, and systems that lead to the capabilities, we have to ask ourselves two very important questions: alignment and sustainability. So let me start with alignment. We can think about alignment in two ways. Internal alignment. That refers to whether our people, process, and systems are aligned with each other. Do they reinforce each other to build capability? For those of you working in larger organizations, it's probably not surprising to find situations where perhaps a policy set in the HR group contradicts with objectives and capabilities that other parts of the organization are trying to achieve. Those would clearly be not aligned situations. Perhaps it's an organization that wants to have an innovative capability, yet puts in restrictions that make it very difficult for people to be creative. In addition to the internal alignment between our people, processes, and systems, we also have to think about the external alignment, the degree to which our capabilities are aligned with our value proposition. One way people think about capabilities analysis is to refer to VRIN, which stands for valuable, rare, inimitable, and non-substitutable. And the argument is these are four necessary conditions for a capability to provide competitive advantage. External alignment is in essence the value question of a VRIN analysis here. Do the capabilities we have actually provide value for our customers and ultimately to the business? It's fun to think about examples where firms have capabilities that are arguably strong yet don't contribute to the value proposition of the firm. A classic example going back to the beginnings of the 20th century, many British coal mine companies had these wonderful brass bands. Why they had that and how they historically arose, I'm not exactly sure. But what's interesting about that story is that these brass bands were very well accomplished. They toured around the country, were well recognized for their strong capabilities. Yet, obviously, what's the value to a coal mining company of having that capability at the end of the day? Likely didn't satisfy this condition of external alignment at the end of the day. So to help illustrate this notion of alignment, I'd like to refer to another company, Nucor Steel. Steel industry, like the airline industry, is a brutally competitive market, global market, commodity-based product ultimately, one that really competes on cost and price. Not much differentiation between different steel products, at least at the large end of the market. Nucor Steel is an American-based manufacturer. They use a technology called mini mill technology, which is popular and has been in use for many, many decades now. This is a brutal industry. We've seen lots of bankruptcies, once again, lots of firms struggling within this market, yet Nucor Steel has been a raising success story for many, many years in this industry and has grown to be one of the largest in the US and in the world in the steel industry. What's the secret to their success? What are their capabilities and how do their people, processes, and systems align to deliver on that? You see the little schematic here to try to at least explain the Nucor story. At the heart, we see their value proposition, which once again in a commodity-based market like steel is low cost per ton of steel. How do you get low cost per ton? Well, there's two different ways you can basically lower your cost structure. One is operating efficiency, the number of man hours necessary to produce a unit of steel. They have superior human resource management capabilities and a particular unique way of organizing their production that allows them to get operating efficiencies. This includes performance incentives, they're non-unionized, they have a very flat structure, participatory decision making. Yet this type of approach is very much conditional on them having excess earnings flow back into the system to incentivize their employees to continue to work hard, this high utilization idea. And so what they've done is they've created a virtuous cycle where their low cost per ton increases their profitability, allowing them to have excess returns that they can pay back their employees in an incentive-based system, which then encourages them to work hard, increasing their operation efficiency, lowering their costs, and once again, the cycle continues. Similarly, the other way in which you could get low cost per ton is to have high capital efficiency. And the way that often happens in manufacturing industries is by having the latest and greatest technology. It often is the case that new manufacturing plants are going to be more efficient than old manufacturing plants, simply because of advances in technology and the like. Nucor has been able to be always on the cutting edge of technology by having a very robust and aggressive capital management process. They have a very efficient way of building out new facilities and resources. They act as their own general contractor. They design their plants with expansion in mind. And they also have a way of financing those capital expansions that's very envious. They're able to keep debt very low. They require a very high return on assets within a very short period of time. And the reason they're able to do this is, once again, their low cost per ton. Their low cost per ton, once again, increases their retained earnings. It allows them to finance expansion without having to go to debt markets and becoming highly leveraged. It factors into their capital resource management strategy, which once again gives them more efficient technology that lowers their costs and feeds back again. So these two reinforcing feedback loops allows Nucor Steel to align their resources with their capabilities and ultimately with their external value proposition here, working together in one cohesive system. We could do something very similar for Southwest Airlines. At Southwest, their tight turnaround times are in part tied to many of the strategic decisions, choices that I've already outlaid, short-haul flights, 737s only, but it also deals with their human resource practices, the culture I mentioned before, all of those forming a virtuous feedback loop in which they're able to continue to be the low-cost carrier within the industry. Now, having that capability is necessary, but not the entire part of the story here. The last thing we need to consider, and arguably the most important thing we need to consider, is the sustainability of those capabilities.